Do you trust your blood pressure monitor? What if I told you there's a 90% chance those readings are completely wrong? And the shocking part? It's not the machine that's failing. It's usually us. Statistics are truly alarming. 9 out of 10 people, especially older adults, are measuring their blood pressure incorrectly. We look at the display, we trust those numbers, and we adjust our medication based on them. But the reality is, those figures might bear absolutely no resemblance to what's actually happening inside your body. In this video, we are going to break down the 20 most common and most dangerous mistakes that essentially turn your reliable monitor into a random number generator. Watch until the very end, and you will know exactly how to get perfectly accurate readings every single time. Ready to take control of your health? Then let's get started. But before we dive into the errors themselves, let's take a moment to understand why this is so vitally important. High blood pressure isn't called the silent killer for nothing. It can go undetected for years, causing absolutely no symptoms, but relentlessly damaging your heart, your vessels, your kidneys, and your brain. The only way to catch this enemy in time is through regular and, crucially, accurate measurement. Home monitoring is your first line of defense, your eyes and ears in the fight against hypertension. Your doctor relies entirely on your home measurements to set your treatment plan, adjust your dosage, and determine if your medication is actually working. Imagine bringing your GP completely misleading data. That's like trying to build a house using a crooked blueprint. The outcome will be disastrous. That is why accuracy here isn't just a bonus. It is a fundamental necessity for living a long, healthy life. These numbers determine whether you are receiving the correct treatment and ultimately the quality and longevity of your life. Right then, the first and probably the most common mistake we all make is taking a reading straight after we've been rushing around. Think about it. You've just come in from the cold, perhaps you've hurried up the stairs, carried those heavy shopping bags, or maybe you've just had a bit of a tense phone call. And before you've had a chance to catch your breath, you grab the cuff. The result? Those numbers on the monitor fly sky high, causing a bit of a panic, don't they? Well, the simple truth is that any physical or emotional strain forces your body to produce those stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. They tighten up your blood vessels and make your heart beat faster, and that immediately sends your blood pressure right up. Taking a measurement while you're like that is absolutely pointless. You're not measuring your proper, resting baseline pressure. You're measuring your body's reaction to stress. So remember the golden rule. Before you even think about putting on that monitor, you must relax. Sit down in a comfortable armchair, loosen up and take slow, deep breaths for at least 5 minutes. Or better yet, give yourself a good 10 to 15 minutes. Only once you've had that proper rest will your body return to its normal state, and the readings you get will reflect the true picture of your health. The second major mistake, and this is a big one, lies simply in how you sit. You'd think taking a seat is straightforward enough, wouldn't you? But most of us get it wrong. The most sneaky culprit is that common habit of crossing one leg over the other. It feels perfectly comfortable and natural, I know, but when you're taking your blood pressure, this posture is disastrous. When you cross your legs, you immediately compress those major blood vessels, specifically the femoral arteries. This creates resistance, hindering the normal flow of blood. To push the blood through that tightened pathway, your heart has to work much harder, and that extra effort artificially inflates your blood pressure reading. Research consistently shows that sitting leg over leg can add anywhere from 5 to 15 millimeters of mercury to your systolic reading. That's the top number on the screen. Just think about that for a moment. You might have a perfectly healthy reading of 120 over 80. Yet, because of this single simple habit, your monitor might display 135, which instantly pushes you into the pre-hypertensive range. The correct posture is straightforward. Sit squarely on the chair with your back straight, leaning against the backrest if possible. Both feet must be flat on the floor, uncrossed. Your legs should be completely relaxed. This one simple adjustment can dramatically change those figures on your monitor for the better. Now, the third common blunder, and nearly everyone does this, is having a natter while the machine is running. It feels so quick and easy, doesn't it? So naturally, we feel tempted to discuss the latest gossip with family, answer the phone, or just make a quick comment. Big mistake. Every single word you utter actually throws the whole reading off. And why is that? Talking isn't just the vibration of your voice box. It's a proper workout. It engages loads of different muscles. Your chest, your throat, your breathing muscles. On top of that, just formulating your thoughts and speaking activates certain parts of your brain and your nervous system. All those little movements, however tiny, change how tense your blood vessels are and alter your heart rate. Your monitor picks up these sudden, fleeting changes, giving you a reading that's completely skewed and unreliable. In fact, you could be reading 10 or even 15 points higher than your actual pressure. So the rule here is absolutely non-negotiable. From the moment you press start on your monitor until the cuff has completely deflated, you must observe total silence. Don't chat, don't answer queries, and definitely don't chuckle. Just sit there, perfectly still and quiet. Think of it as a couple of minutes of essential meditation for your well-being. That is the only way you'll get a proper, honest reading from your body. Moving on to the fourth common mistake, getting the arm position wrong. This is one of the most crucial details and it can easily throw your reading off by 20 or 30 points, sometimes even more. A lot of people simply rest their arm on their knee or they hold it suspended in the air. Both of these methods are fundamentally incorrect. There is a basic rule, almost a law of physics. When taking your blood pressure, the arm with the cuff must be positioned level with your heart. If your arm is lower than your heart, for example, simply hanging down by your side, gravity takes over. The blood rushes into the arm more forcefully, and your monitor will give you an artificially high reading. Conversely, if you raise your arm too high, above the level of your heart, the blood drains away, and the machine will show you a falsely low pressure. The ideal setup is when you are sitting at a table. Your arm should rest easily on the tabletop, ensuring that the middle of your upper arm, where the cuff is placed, is roughly level with your breastbone. If you are measuring your pressure in an armchair without a table, make sure to use a cushion or a rolled towel underneath your elbow to achieve the necessary height. Crucially, the arm must be totally relaxed. Do not tense your muscles. Only by observing this condition will the pressure measured in your arm accurately reflect your true systemic blood pressure. Mistake number 5 is trying to take a shortcut by leaving your clothes on. You might think that a thin shirt or blouse sleeve won't make much difference to your reading, but that's a serious and widespread error. The blood pressure cuff is a very sensitive piece of kit. For an accurate reading, it must have direct, firm, and even contact with the bare skin of your upper arm. Any fabric, even the thinnest, creates a barrier. Firstly, it stops the sensors from clearly detecting your pulse. Secondly, the material can bunch up beneath the cuff, meaning the pressure isn't distributed evenly. This can lead to completely unpredictable readings. The monitor might show results that are either falsely high or falsely low. Rolling up a tight sleeve is particularly risky. The resulting roll of fabric acts like a tourniquet squeezing the arm above the cuff. This guarantees an incorrect, falsely high reading. The rule is simple and absolute. The cuff must always be placed directly onto your bare arm. If your sleeve is too tight to roll up comfortably, take the moment and remove the garment completely for a couple of minutes. Your health is certainly worth that small effort. Right, the 6th mistake, and this one often slips people's minds, is simply using the wrong size cuff. Most of us just use the cuff that came in the box with the machine without ever checking if it actually fits properly. But let me tell you, this is absolutely crucial. A cuff that is too small for your arm will squeeze your upper arm unevenly and much too tightly. The machine will then have to pump up to an excessive pressure just to restrict the artery. And the result? You'll get significantly higher readings than you should. This can give you the completely false impression that you have high blood pressure or hypertension. Now the flip side, If the cuff is too big and looks a bit baggy on your arm, it won't be able to compress the artery effectively. The monitor will pick up the pulse even when the cuff pressure is quite high, giving you artificially low readings. And that is just as dangerous, because you might miss the early warning signs of something serious. So, how do we choose the right size? It's actually very straightforward. You simply need a measuring tape to check the circumference of your upper arm, right in the middle, halfway between your elbow and your shoulder joint. Then, compare that measurement to the size range printed right there on the cuff itself. A standard or medium cuff is generally designed for arms measuring between 22 and 32 centimeters. If your arm is noticeably larger or thinner than that range, you absolutely must buy the correct size cuff. It really is one of the very best investments you can make in ensuring your readings are accurate. The seventh mistake concerns what you do just before you take your blood pressure measurement. We are talking specifically about eating, drinking, and smoking. Too many people check their pressure right after a big meal, that morning cup of coffee, or a quick cigarette break. This is a serious no-no. Any meal, especially a large one, instantly kicks off the digestion process. This requires a strong flow of blood to your digestive system and gets your nervous system highly activated. This can easily push your blood pressure up by 10 or even 20 points on the scale. Coffee, strong tea, and other caffeinated drinks are powerful stimulants. Caffeine constricts your blood vessels and speeds up your heart rate, resulting in a significant temporary spike in your pressure. That stimulating effect can easily last for 2 or 3 hours. The same strict rule applies to smoking. Nicotine causes a powerful spasm or tightening of the blood vessels, which sharply elevates your reading. Therefore, if you want truly accurate data, you must observe a strict waiting period. After a meal, you need to wait at least 1 to 2 hours. If you've had a cup of coffee or a cigarette, you must wait a minimum of 30 to 40 minutes. Taking your blood pressure properly requires what we call a clean experiment. Remove these disruptive factors and you will finally see what your real numbers are. Our eighth common mistake might sound a bit personal, but it's absolutely crucial not to overlook it: measuring your blood pressure when you have a full bladder. You might wonder, what on earth is the connection? Well, it's actually very direct. When your bladder is full, it stretches and starts putting pressure on the surrounding tissues and nerve endings. In response to this internal discomfort signal, your body activates the sympathetic nervous system, the one responsible for the famous fight or flight response. This system releases chemicals into your bloodstream that cause your blood vessels to constrict and your heart rate to increase. The inevitable result? Your blood pressure goes up. This is just a natural physiological reaction to internal stress. This elevation can be quite significant, as much as 10 to 15 millimeters of mercury, mmHg, for both your systolic, top, and diastolic, bottom, readings. So if you feel the urge to go to the toilet, but decide to just quickly take my reading first, you are guaranteed to get an artificially high result. The rule is simple and logical. Before you start the measurement procedure, always use the toilet. Make sure you are completely comfortable and relaxed. Only when you are in a state of full physical comfort can your body provide the true, accurate blood pressure readings. Don't let such a small detail mislead you or your doctor. Mistake number 9 is simply trusting the very first reading you take. Too often, people take one measurement, see the numbers, and immediately jot them down in their record book. This is fundamentally the wrong way to go about it. Remember, your body is not a static system. Your blood pressure is constantly shifting and fluctuating in response to the slightest internal and external triggers. That initial measurement is nearly always just a settling-in read. At that moment, you might be slightly tense while waiting for the result, and your arm muscles haven't fully adapted to the pressure from the cuff yet. Because of this, the first reading is often artificially high. To get an accurate and reliable result, you need to take a series of 2 or 3 measurements. Take the first reading, then wait 1 or 2 minutes so that the blood flow in your arm can fully recover. Then take the second measurement. After that, pause again and take a third. You will usually notice that the second and third readings are lower than the first and much closer to each other. It is from these final two measurements that you should calculate the average. For instance, if your results are 135/85 and then 130/80, your actual result should be the average value, 132/82. That is the figure you should be recording. This method allows you to smooth out any random fluctuations and gives you the clearest, most objective picture possible. The 10th common mistake people make is checking their blood pressure at random times. Perhaps you check it this morning, tomorrow afternoon, and the day after just before bed. That kind of chaotic approach simply won't give you any useful information. Remember, your blood pressure follows your body's natural 24-hour cycle, your circadian rhythm. For most of us, pressure is lowest while we sleep, starts climbing just before we wake up, hits its peak during the morning and daytime hours, and then gradually drops off towards the evening. To properly track the dynamics of your pressure and see if your medication is actually working, you must take your measurements at the exact same time every single day. Cardiologists strongly recommend checking it twice daily. The first time should be in the morning, immediately after you wake up and have been to the loo, but crucially, before you eat breakfast or take any morning tablets. This important morning reading shows you how your body has been performing overnight. The second time is in the evening. Take it before dinner or wait 2 hours after you've eaten, but always before you take any of your evening medicines. The evening measurement provides a valuable snapshot of how your pressure has behaved throughout your active day. Regular measurements taken at the same time will give both you and your GP a crystal clear picture whether you are suffering from morning hypertension, how effectively your tablets are working throughout the day, and how your pressure reacts to different situations and stresses. It's only this systematic approach that truly turns your blood pressure monitor into a powerful diagnostic tool. The 11th mistake, and this one is closely linked to the first, but we must highlight it separately, is ignoring what we call the crucial resting period, right before you take the reading. We already know that we shouldn't measure our pressure immediately after strenuous physical exercise, but many people think that if they've just been quietly pottering around the house or sitting at the computer, they can start the procedure right away. That's not quite right. Even minimal activity, like simply walking from one room to another, requires effort from the body. Your heart rate and blood pressure both creep up slightly. So, even if you feel perfectly calm, you absolutely need a period of settling down first. The World Health Organization and all the major cardiology associations are very clear on this. Before you put that cuff on, you must sit in complete stillness for at least 5 full minutes. And remember, that means sitting properly in the correct position we discussed, on a chair with a supportive backrest, feet flat on the floor, and your arms supported on a table. During these 5 minutes, your cardiovascular system will settle down, your pulse will calm, and your blood pressure will stabilize at its true baseline level. Don't rush it. Those 5 minutes of waiting are not wasted time. They are the guarantee that the figures on your monitor screen will be as accurate and truthful as possible. Skipping this crucial step can easily add an extra 5 to 10 points onto your reading. The 12th common mistake concerns the technique of actually putting the cuff on. You might think, what's the big deal? Just wrap it around your arm and fasten it. However, even this simple step has nuances that drastically affect your results. First off, there's the height. You need to position the cuff on your upper arm so that the bottom edge is about 2 or 3 centimeters, roughly 2 finger widths, above the crease of your elbow. If you put it on too low, right on that crease, it will press down on your elbow joint when the machine inflates it, causing discomfort and throwing off the numbers. Secondly, pay attention to the position of the hose, the tube that runs from the cuff to the machine. It should run along the inner side of your arm, roughly in the middle, right over where your main brachial artery is located. Many cuffs even have a specific marker for this, often labelled as the artery mark. Thirdly, and this is crucially important, the tightness. The cuff shouldn't be loose enough to flap around, but it definitely shouldn't be cinched too tight either. The rule of thumb is simple. Once the cuff is fastened, you should be able to easily slip one or maybe two fingers underneath it. If the cuff is too loose, the machine has to overinflate it with air, which will often give you an artificially high reading. If it's too tight, that constricts your blood vessels right away, and that too will lead to inaccurate figures. Spend just 30 seconds getting this stage right, and you will significantly improve the accuracy of your blood pressure measurement. Our 13th mistake might seem insignificant, but it actually points to a potentially dangerous attitude towards monitoring your health. This is the habit of rounding off your blood pressure readings. Say your monitor displays 138/87, but you jot down 140/90 in your journal. Or perhaps it showed 142/91, and you still only record 140/90. You might think, what's the harm? It's only a point or two here or there, but that small difference is absolutely critical. Firstly, the dividing line between high normal pressure and proper hypertension is extremely precise. A reading of 138 is considered high normal, but 140 marks the clear threshold for stage 1 high blood pressure, a stage that demands medical review. By rounding, you risk either self-diagnosing unnecessarily, or far worse, overlooking a vital warning sign. Secondly, when your doctor reviews your log, they aren't just looking at the individual numbers, they're analysing the trends, the variability, and how those numbers change throughout the day and in response to medication. They absolutely need those accurate figures to get a true picture of your condition. Consistent rounding smooths out the peaks and troughs, essentially hiding crucial data from the person trying to help you. So, the rule is simple and non-negotiable. Record the digits exactly as your machine displays them. 138/87, 142/91. Precision in these small details is the bedrock of an accurate diagnosis and truly effective treatment. The 14th common mistake is using a faulty blood pressure monitor, or one that hasn't been calibrated in ages. We tend to rely heavily on technology, especially if it's a trusted, well-known brand. However, any measuring device can become unreliable over time. Mechanical parts wear out, and the electronics can start playing up. And this is especially true for automatic digital monitors. You might be measuring your blood pressure for years and not realize that your device is systematically giving readings that are 10, 15, or even 20 points too high or too low. How can we avoid this happening? Firstly, when purchasing a BP monitor, always stick to reputable manufacturers whose devices have undergone stringent clinical testing and are recommended by major cardiology associations. Secondly, at least once every year or two, you should take your device into a service centre for a calibration check. There, they will cross-reference its readings with a certified reference gauge and adjust it if necessary. Thirdly, regularly perform a reading cross-check. When you attend your GP appointment, bring your monitor along. Take your blood pressure first using the doctor's machine, and then, a couple of minutes later, use your own. The difference between the two readings should not exceed 5 to 7 millimeters of mercury, or mmHg. If the variance is greater, that is a serious signal to get your device diagnosed. Remember, an inaccurate monitor is far more dangerous than having none at all, as it gives you a false sense of security and control. The 15th common mistake is consistently measuring your blood pressure only on one side, your so-called favourite arm. Since most people are right-handed, they naturally find it easier to place the cuff on their left arm. They often stick with this routine for years, unaware that they might be getting an incomplete picture. The crucial point is that many individuals have a slight, yet important pressure differential between their right and left arms. We refer to this phenomenon as asymmetry. Usually this difference is minor, not exceeding 10 millimeters of mercury, 10 mm, which is considered physiologically normal. However, if this disparity is greater, it can sometimes signal underlying vascular problems, such as atherosclerosis. Therefore, whenever you first begin a routine of regular blood pressure measurement, or if you're restarting after a prolonged break, It is essential to perform what we call a baseline control measurement. To do this, first measure the pressure on one arm 3 times, then calculate the average reading. Next, wait 5 minutes and repeat the exact procedure on the other arm. Now compare those two averages. The arm that consistently provides the higher reading should be designated as your permanent measuring arm. Moving forward, all subsequent readings must be taken exclusively on that side. Crucially, if the difference in the systolic or top blood pressure reading between the two arms exceeds 15 to 20 points, that is a serious reason to consult your doctor immediately. This difference can be a very important diagnostic sign. The 16th mistake, and one we often overlook, is not having proper back support. So many of us check our blood pressure sitting on a stool, perched on the edge of the sofa, or just dangling off a chair without any support for our back. When you sit like that, you have to tense your back and core muscles just to keep yourself upright. That's called static muscle tension. You might not even realize you're doing it, but trust me, those muscles are working hard, and any muscle tension, even the slightest bit, demands extra blood flow and kicks your nervous system into action. This inevitably pushes your blood pressure reading up. Studies clearly show that measuring without proper back support can artificially inflate your reading by 5 to 10 points, 5 to 10 millimeters of mercury. The correct posture is simple. Sit deep into a sturdy chair or armchair so that your back is straight and fully resting against the backrest. This lets your core muscles totally relax. Your entire body needs to be completely still and at rest. Only then will the numbers on your monitor reflect the true state of your cardiovascular system, giving you the real picture untainted by interference from your muscles and posture. Please don't ignore this seemingly insignificant rule. Just make sure you grab a comfortable chair with a proper backrest before you take your next reading. Now, for mistake number 17. This one follows logically from what we just discussed about proper posture and arm position. This error occurs when the arm being measured has no proper support. It might be hanging loosely in the air, or the person might be trying to hold it up themselves. We often see people attempting to support the measuring arm with the other hand, which simply creates tension in both. Others just allow the arm to dangle freely. Either way, this is a serious violation of the measuring technique. As we've mentioned before, any muscle tension will skew the final result. When you hold your arm up, even if it feels light and relaxed to you, the muscles in your shoulder, the deltoids, the biceps, the triceps, are all working, held in constant static tension. This is what specialists call an isometric load, and it raises your arterial blood pressure quite significantly. The monitor won't measure your true resting or baseline pressure. It will be measuring your pressure plus the stress generated by this physical effort. The resulting reading is guaranteed to be artificially high. The correct position, and I must stress this again, is when the arm is completely relaxed and fully resting on a solid, immovable surface. Ideally, a table is best. If a table isn't available, use a chair armrest, a firm cushion, or a stable stack of books to create support at the correct height, which, remember, is heart level. Your primary goal is to completely eliminate any muscular work in the arm during the procedure. The arm must be a passive object for the measurement, not an active participant trying to hold itself up. Point number 18 is less about a measurement error and more about a dangerous fallacy in interpreting the results themselves. I am referring here to the myth of working blood pressure. We often hear the phrase, particularly from people of the older generation, "My blood pressure is a 160/100, but I feel fine. That's just my working pressure." This is one of the most detrimental and dangerous misconceptions in cardiology. Let me be absolutely clear, once and for all, there is no such thing as working high blood pressure. Normal blood pressure for an adult is anything below 140/90 millimeters of mercury. The optimal reading is 120/80. Anything above these numbers is considered hypertension and requires treatment regardless of how you feel. The fact that you have got used to those high numbers and don't feel them is actually a very bad sign. It means your body has adapted to a constant state of overload, but the destructive processes in your blood vessels, heart, and kidneys have not stopped. They are continuing silently. You must rely not on how you feel, but on what your blood pressure monitor reads. If those readings are consistently above the norm, that is a clear signal for action and a reason to see your doctor, rather than just comforting yourself with myths about working pressure. Our next common pitfall relates to the final stage of managing your blood pressure, logging the results properly. A lot of people either don't bother keeping a blood pressure diary at all, relying instead on memory, or they simply do it incorrectly. Just jotting down the systolic and diastolic figures is really only half the story. To make this information genuinely useful and valuable for your GP, the log needs to be much more comprehensive. So, what exactly should you be noting down, alongside the date, time, and the actual blood pressure numbers? Firstly, always record your pulse rate. Most modern blood pressure monitors will show this automatically. Secondly, it's vital to add short notes regarding how you felt and what was happening at the time. For instance, you might write down, terrible headache, got stressed at work, slept poorly last night, or took my usual medication at 8 a.m. This level of detail gives your doctor the complete picture. They can then link those spikes or drops to specific events, see how you react to stress, and, crucially, determine exactly how effectively your prescribed medication is working throughout the day. Keeping this discipline up helps you understand your own body better in the long run, and nowadays it couldn't be simpler to keep track. You can use a standard notebook or, even easier, download a specific smartphone app. These applications can automatically generate helpful graphs and keep a complete history of all your measurements. And finally, the 20th common mistake we see is letting panic set in after getting just one surprisingly high reading. Imagine this. You usually have perfectly normal blood pressure, but today your monitor suddenly flashes 170 over 100. The first thought for many people is fear, immediate panic, and ringing the ambulance straight away. Now hold on a moment. Don't rush into anything. As we've already discussed, a vast number of factors can influence your blood pressure reading. Perhaps you didn't follow one of the rules we mentioned earlier today. Maybe you've been worried about something, or perhaps you just had a bad night's sleep. A single spike in pressure is certainly not a diagnosis, and it's no immediate cause for panic. So what should you do in this situation? First things first, calm yourself down, sit down properly, take a few deep breaths, and consciously try to relax. After about 10 to 15 minutes, take the measurement again, making sure you follow all the proper guidelines. Then, a couple of minutes later, take a third reading. Quite often, after a short period of rest and quiet, your pressure will return to normal levels. If, however, those repeated readings are still showing consistently high figures, and you feel unwell, perhaps you have a severe headache, dizziness, or nausea, then yes, absolutely, you should call a doctor. But if you feel perfectly fine and the numbers remain elevated, simply write them down in your health diary and arrange a visit with your regular GP. It's those consistently high readings, measured over several days, that are the real cause for concern, not just one isolated random reading. So, that concludes our look at the 20 crucial mistakes that often prevent us from getting the truth about our blood pressure. As you can see, the devil truly is in the details. Crossed legs, having a casual conversation, that quick cup of coffee, or a cuff that isn't fitted correctly. Any one of these seemingly small things can turn what should be an accurate reading into a completely meaningless set of numbers. The most important conclusion we must draw is this. Taking your blood pressure isn't just a simple routine action. It's a vital medical procedure that demands your full attention and strict adherence to the rules. This is the only way you can obtain reliable data that will genuinely help both you and your doctor keep you healthy for many years to come. Stop misleading yourself and your monitor. Start measuring your pressure correctly, beginning today. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way through. If you found this information useful, please do hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on our other essential health advice. Now we have a question for you. Which of these 20 mistakes were you making most frequently? Or perhaps you know another secret for accurate measurement that we failed to mention. Please share your experience in the comments below. Your wisdom will be valuable for all of us. Stay healthy and remember to monitor your blood pressure the right way.